Everyone, the Sports Shorts Daily presented by LeBear's Casino and the all-new Barstool Sportsbook, which opens up October 21st at LeBear's Casino, 3:30 ribbon cutting. Tommy joining us from Tremonti's Meat and Seafood here in Baton Rouge. Deer processing about to crank up, and then, of course, lunch specials, tailgating packages, all that kind of stuff going on. All right, so today on Sports Shorts Daily, we're going to talk a little bit about the LSU Florida game right now. At the moment, the LSU is a 2.5-point dog on the road in the Swamp, 6 o'clock tomorrow night. 51.5 over under is the total. We'll kind of break down the two quarterbacks and give you the tail of the tape with their stats on the year here in just a minute. Also, the Saints taking on Joe Burrow and the Bengals, 2-point dog at home. 43 is the over under. And from we've got an interesting. We'll give you a couple picks this week. One of them will be that Saints game. We'll get to that here in just a minute for you gamblers. A big time homecoming. A number of players. For obviously Burrow and Chase. I'm curious to see, Tommy. I really am. How many jerseys and things like that are going to be there? But Lyle Collins, the former Redemptress star, high school star, play of course offensive lineman from LSU. Interesting, he's coming back, and I've got a little story about Lyle Collins. I'll tell you here in just a minute. Also, 3 Major League Baseball games today. Cleveland and New York go off at noon. Atlanta and Philadelphia play in Philly. First home game for the Philly in a long, long time, a dozen years. Aaron Nola going on the bump. That game's at 3:30. So for you LSU baseball fans, make sure you check that out. Dodgers and Padres at 7:30 tonight. Dodgers find themselves a favorite. And TK's got some interesting factoids for you on the Astros Mariners series. Astros up 2-0. They don't play today. They play tomorrow in Seattle. And I've got some thoughts on the Raging Cajuns' victory on Wednesday over Marshall. And Alvin Kamara won the better of the bet against Tyrann Mathieu. Tyrann Mathieu had to rock some Tennessee Vols gear this week down in New Orleans, the former LSU player and, of course, the volunteer player. And look, it's been a tough year for Tyrann Mathieu, Tommy. He had to rock some Florida State gear week 1. Now he had to rock some Tennessee gear. LSU football not been the same since 2019. Let's first talk a little LSU Florida for a minute. Bigger game for which team? Bigger game for Florida, bigger game for LSU?
I think, wow, that's close. It may be a toss-up. However, I'm going to say Florida because of Billy Napier. And, he's got so many friends and he's respected so much in Lafayette. I mean, what he did for the Raging Cajuns was unprecedented with the bowl games and the 10-win seasons and, putting people in Cajun Field. And so there's a lot of people in Lafayette that will always have a feel for Billy Napier. And, of course, they're 1-2 in league play. And everybody, like LSU fans, the Florida fans have to be patient. If Napier's going to get the job done, it's not going to happen overnight. It's growing pains. So I think they would see a win over over LSU as a really good thing. It's very important for LSU. Brian Kelly, he's coached almost 400 games in college. He's never played the Florida Gators. He's never been to the Swamp. So, LSU's played 6 football games. They've had 5 different offensive line combinations. Miles Frazier's the only guy to play every game, but he's played 3 different positions on that line while playing every game. So I think it's an interesting game, big story, bigger, more important for Florida in the big picture going forward.
So, like I told you the other day, there's a big contingency of Raging Cajun fans and Billy Napier friends that are going to be making their way from Lafayette to the Swamp this weekend to go watch the game. I know some of them are flying over on Friday or today, this afternoon. They're having a big dinner, and then there's going to be a tour of the stadium and that kind of thing. But as far as, and of course, you got Kelly and Napier. The funny thing was he was asked earlier this week, Billy Napier was, at a press conference, was he ever offered the LSU job? And he didn't say yes or no, which was surprising to me because the true answer is LSU never called me. I never heard from LSU. They never reached out to me. But he didn't say that. Instead, he said, hey, some things, left private. I don't really want to talk about it. The things that happen off the field and the job. He kind of danced around it. And I think that's a smart move by Billy Napier because Florida fans are under the assumption that they pulled one over on LSU, that they got one over on LSU, that they got Billy Napier before LSU could get Billy Napier, or they got him before they could offer him the job. And that is how they feel. And I know that for a fact because I've talked to back when he got the job, I talked to some friends of mine that are in that, close to the athletic department, former players, and they generally believe that they went in LSU's backyard and got a candidate for the LSU job out from under him, not really knowing that LSU really didn't offer Billy Napier the job. Now, I think that's silly. I mean, we all agree that Billy Napier deserved looking into. He deserved an ask, an interview, or whatever. Maybe not necessarily offer the job if you're not sure on the guy, because what he did an hour away from Baton Rouge over the last 3-4 years deserved LSU's attention, especially with his coaching tree coming from Saban and everything. But they didn't. And it's kind of funny. I think he's keeping that urban legend alive by letting people think, you know what, maybe I was offered the LSU job, but he really wasn't.
Well, I like his answer, and I don't think they called him. Okay, I don't know that. That's just my guess and talking to a few people. But certainly his name was bandied about, just like it was the year before at Auburn and a couple of years ago at Mississippi State. I mean, it's been bounced around a little bit. And, you may never know if, the guy who knew the guy called the other guy and then word got back. I don't know. I don't know how that goes. It could be complicated. But
Nookie asking, is Jumbo a big ULL booster? Were you pushing for Napier? And the question is that all I was pushing for at the beginning was just, let's talk to the guy. Let's dig in on the guy. But look, if regardless of what's happened since, if you'd have told me you can have Brian Kelly or Billy Napier, I mean, come on. Of course you're going to take Brian Kelly. I mean, that's ridiculous. Yeah. So I'm totally glad and happy with LSU's decision. I just was surprised at a little bit of a disrespect that I think Billy was given, that LSU kind of turned their nose up at him and really never considered him.
Yeah, I would, but I think it's a good answer by Napier, as you said. Just kind of let it keep twisting in the wind, and people can believe what they want to believe or choose what they want to choose. And maybe one day in the future the real answer comes out. Who knows?
In this LSU Florida matchup, you thought the over/under was a little low. You're not necessarily saying load up on it, but 51.5, huh? You think it should be higher?
Yeah, I do. I mean, 51.5. I mean, 28-24, you're a winner. 31-24, you're a winner. I think both teams are going to score because Florida's defense is suspect. LSU's defense has been, Tennessee took it to them. Special teams by LSU, you never know. They're liable to give up 6 or more. And, I think they're going to get a lot of points in this game. And 8 of the last 9 games have been single digits differences, so the wise guys think it's going to be a close game. I would lean to the over in the LSU Florida game, unless you feel really strong about that 2.5 points.
All right, so let me give you the tail of the tape here. You've got one quarterback. This is Richardson versus Daniels. Okay, you've got Daniel, who is completing 68.8% of his passes, and actually is attempted about 30 more passes than Richardson. He's 121 for 176 on the year, where Richardson's 81 for 145. You got one quarterback, Daniel, 68.8% completion percentage. Richardson only 55.9. You got one quarterback in Daniel who's has 7 touchdowns. Richardson only 5 touchdowns. You got one quarterback who's averaging 4.7 yards a rush on 76 attempts. That's Daniel, which is about 30 more attempts than Richardson. But Richardson's averaging 6.1 attempts. Daniel has 359 yards rushing. Richardson 289 yards rushing. But here's the big difference, Tommy. Daniel has 1 interception. Richardson has 7 interceptions. So you got one quarterback that's prone to turnovers. Yes, he runs the ball just as good, maybe even a little better, talking about Richardson. Throws the ball worse, turns the ball over. So I think, this is one of the rare occasions where LSU has the quarterback advantage in this game, as far as a quarterback who can throw it, run it, and doesn't turn the ball over as much. You're not going to say that probably much the rest of the way on this LSU schedule.
probably not. Yeah, but and the Florida quarterback's got so much upside. He's a big guy. He can move. He's got if he finds a way to get it done, he could be pretty tough.
Anthony Richardson has a 62.8% QBR rating, which is 61st in college football right now. You'll be surprised to know that Daniels, he's got, let me pull this up. I found it right here. His QBR rating is his rating rather is ESPN, the passer rating, 138.7. 138.7, which is outstanding compared to Richardson, who is, like I think I mentioned, 68 point something. I mean, like, and after week one, when they beat Utah, there was all this talk that Anthony Richardson had turned things around. Actually, no, I apologize. I looked at a different little thing here when I clicked on Anthony. His rating is 126. There's two different ratings. Anthony Richardson has a QBR of 62.8, which is 61st in the country. Where is Daniel's QBR? Because the ratings are a little bit misleading. There's two different ones. Here we go. Here we go. Click on this one. Pull up stats. And Daniels, his QBR is 75.5. So Daniels is 27th in the country, and Richardson is 61st in the country. So another stat that gives Daniels the lead on Richardson. I don't know. Interesting to see that LSU's playing a game where Jaden Daniels is clearly the better quarterback on the field. And that was
and the other thing, I mean, LSU's got to run the football to have a chance to win. And we've seen for decades how many great running backs LSU has had. And they got guys right now, but nobody's really stepped up like to be the bell cow, be the guy that they can go to. I mean, Jaden Daniels still leads the team in rushing. Has a quarterback ever led the team in rushing at LSU? I don't think so.
Maybe
I'd have to look that up. But so LSU, but it's hard to run the ball when you got different offensive line unit out there all the time, and you're shuffling guys from position to position. Anybody out there listening, and that's an old offensive lineman, about the cohesion and the unit thing, So, man, they're going to have to run the ball, but they haven't shown yet that they can do that against anybody. However, Florida's defense has been known to give up a little rushing yardage. So, I don't know. Again, I like the over. Might be a small field, and that LSU plus 2.5 would be a good thing.
All right, so let's move on to the Saints. Big weekend for the Saints in the Dome. Everybody wanting Joe Burrow tickets. Everybody wanting to go to the Saints game. Saints are 2-point dog, 43 over under. I think I'll tell you right now, going to load up on the over on 43. Saints defense has not looked like we thought they would. I think they're getting a lot of reputation love right there. I think Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, if you don't think for a minute they're going to turn it up and be on their game in the Dome when all the good feels come back when they walk on that turf. I just don't see a scenario where 43 holds in there. But one of the guys coming back is, and of course there's going to be a million Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow jerseys. But one of the guys coming back is Lyle Collins. And Lyle Collins was with Justin Hill. Of course, Justin Hill, former Bengal, but Justin Hill and him were teammates at Redemptress High School. And there's actually excuse me? Jeremy Hill. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right. Jeremy Hill. Justin Hill's the
Justin
coach.
Hill coaches baseball at
Doing a great job, by the way.
Oh, great guy, too.
But Jeremy Hill was over at Redemptress. Of course, that school, the high school, no longer, around. There is no more Redemptress Wolves football. And think back to, just 10, 15 years ago, they were one of the best programs in the state. But there's actually a documentary in the works that Jeremy Hill's a part of the project, and where I think they come up with a title of something about the North Side, or
they used to call that field the Rock,
right? But it's not. They gave it a title. They're working on it right now. It's something that if it gets done, and I believe it will, it'd probably be an LPB project. It's something you'll see on PBS on LPB. But it's a documentary about that football group at Redemptress, that time, that where for Redemptress football for about 10 years was locked in and won some state championships and all that. And of course, Lyle Collins was a part of some of that.
Well, and I worked many a Redemptor's game back in the day, and at that stadium. And man, hey, don't forget the battles with Parkview that Redemptor's had.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
that was like the game of the year. One of the games
For
of the
about
year
10
in high
years.
school ranks
Yeah.
for like 10 years. I mean, that's all that got talked about. And usually the winner, not only just bragging rights, but would go on to bigger and better things, be it a state title or state championship appearance. So, yeah, no, I have a lot of memories from games over at Redemptor's. That was unique.
Well, the other thing too is all the coaches that came out of there too. Talk about the David Brewertons and the Guy Mastrettas and the Neil Weiners and others that came
Worked
did their
for Sid
time.
Edwards, yeah.
Sid, others that did their time over there, and so many good coaches came out of there. So anyway, I'll let you know if and when that gets finalized. But that's something that is something that's in the works. Is a documentary about Redemptor's football, and it's rare that a private school particularly would close down while having such success. I mean, when they did close down, they were just right after a great run for, like I said, over a decade, and it still wasn't enough to keep the school open.
And I could even go back a little further. I mean, in the 80s, there were a basketball powerhouse with Howard Carter and Kendrick,
the early 80s,
Kendrick Sproul, and I mean, lots of big time players that played at Redemptor's basketball, namely Howard Carter, who was also obviously an LSU great, played overseas for about 15 years professionally. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That would be a documentary I would watch.
By the way, I keep reminding you, if any of you haven't seen it, Chasing Nolan, got to see it. It's been out a while. It's not anything new. It just was new on my plate, and it kind of snuck by me. Chasing Nolan, you got to check that out. Documentary about Nolan Ryan. On the Joe Burrow front, and the Jamar Chase front, what I'm looking forward to. I'm taking my daughter. It's part of her birthday present. She turned 23, back in early October, and I'm curious to see how many Saints fans for one game become Bengals fans. I'm wondering how many Bengals fans get their tickets, because a lot of Bengals fans, and New Orleans is one of those cities. It's like a Vegas or something. It's a destination city for visiting teams, particularly teams that aren't in your division and don't come here very often, like the Bengals. And so, a lot of their fans circled this trip. They knew that the weather is going to be good this time of the year in New Orleans. They want to be there to see Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow return back to their state and get all the love. So there's going to be a ton of Bengals fans coming down from the north, as well as I think a lot of LSU fans that for one game are going to be pulling for those two guys. That's not going to be a home field advantage in the stadium this weekend.
Well, Jamar Chase played at Rummel. That's about 10, 15 minutes away from the Dome. And, he's got a lot of fans down there. Prep football is so big in New Orleans. And, yeah, it's going to be interesting how that goes. Ronnie, I was thinking the other day, we've had this beautiful stretch of weather for about 6 weeks. Is there any way we can bottle this and save it for June and July next year for the Rougarou? Can we do that?
It was funny, before it kind of drizzled a little bit the last couple of days, they had gone like 2 weeks without rain. And I'm thinking, well, of course it went 2 weeks without rain, because the heavens emptied itself in the month of July, June and July in Baton Rouge. No, Rougarou land will be dry next year. No doubt about it.
All right.
All right, let's talk.
Ronnie, I want to mention, can I mention something?
Go ahead.
I got a sneak peek at the Barstool Sportsbook yesterday. I was out at the casino for the Bengal Bells luncheon, which was a fabulous event, and got a little sneak peek. Got a Ranch jersey on the wall in there. Skip's not real sure about that jersey being up, but got Bubba Willis. Got a little info, and I'll tell you, fans, be there Friday, the 21st, 3:30 for the grand opening. Ronnie's emceeing. This place is going to be awesome. It's nice. It's laid out. I mean, I like what I saw at the sportsbook, the Barstool Sportsbook at LeBare's yesterday when I was out there for that luncheon. So check it out, folks. Don't want to. And if you can't get there Friday, obviously you know the drill. You can bet anything. You can bet what time Sports Shorts Daily is going to start. You never know.
Yeah, well, we will definitely be there. Tomorrow, Sports Shorts Radio will be over at Bruley at Walk-Ons, but then the following week, the 22nd.
Are we going to be in the sports book once it opens?
Yeah, we will. We'll have to figure out our time on that. I need to get with them to figure out if we're going to do like an early morning or a late evening. Not sure on what we're going to do. Probably some sort of early morning, I would think.
I
But
think that would be ideal for the people that want to bet. Yeah.
yeah. Let's talk a little baseball. Speaking of betting, I know you and I both have the 3:30 game today circled, Atlanta and Philadelphia. Aaron Nola going at it in his first playoff game of his career at home. And he has been on a roll pitching. So really looking forward to seeing Aaron Nola at 3:30 today against the Braves.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, Phillies are getting a home game. Mariners are getting a home game tomorrow, the first time in like 20-something years, a home playoff game. But yeah, the Phillies went into St. Louis, great baseball town, and got it done. Now they get down to Atlanta and they split. Aaron Nola, I'm sure he can't wait to get on the mound. Might be a butterfly too. I mean, postseason baseball is different. I've enjoyed all these games. I was surprised yesterday afternoon when I heard that the Yankees game was rained out last night. They normally don't call a game 5-6 hours before first pitch is scheduled. But they'll roll in there today. Nola, you got a lot of stories going on here. Padres are going to be home with the Dodgers, and of course, Austin Nola's been doing a great job in the lineup. I don't know if it had happened, but wouldn't it be cool if the Phillies and Padres played and Aaron pitched to Austin, which has happened. It's happened a couple times in their career already at the big league level. But I'm fired up about postseason baseball. I got a Sports Shorts Daily free pick for you today. Take the Yankees on the run line, -1.5. It's plus $1.50. So a little value there if the Yankees can win by 2.
Couple of things. Aaron Nola and the Phillies are favored in this game today. They're minus, I think, 115 on the money line there. They're minus 115 against the Braves. Here's Aaron Nola's numbers at home this year, Tommy. At home, he has had 16 starts, 97. He's got one complete game shutout out of those 16. He's had 97 innings pitched total. He's only given up 76 hits. Has struck out 111 and only walked 17. Has given up 12 homers in 97 innings at home. But it 38 has a 3.5 ERA at home. But against the Braves, he has been fantastic this year. In 5 starts, Aaron Nola, 34 and a third innings pitched. He's only given up 30 hits, has struck out 41, only walked 7, has given up 5 homers in those 34 and a third innings pitched, and only given up 14 earned runs. So he has been very good against the Braves. He has been very good at home. That's why the Phillies are a favorite today. And oh, by the way, his last time out in the wild card series, he went 6 2/3 and didn't give up anything. Gave up 2 hits and no runs. So you're getting a hot Aaron Nola. I don't know. There's no reason for me to believe that he's not going to have a good outing today.
I don't either. You know what was funny? On Twitter yesterday, it showed up a video of Aaron Nola when he was a freshman or a sophomore at LSU in the dugout explaining his changeup, the grip, and how he did it. So it wasn't long, like a minute and a half. I watched it, and of course, he looks like he's a college kid now. He's got the hair and the beard sometimes and all that. But it was kind of cool to watch that because I remember watching him at the box many a time throw a great game, regular season and postseason.
By the way, Aaron Nola and Kevin Gausman on the same team in 2012.
How did they lose?
and both of them were 1 and 2 this year in the major leagues in strikeouts per 9 for starters. I mean, that's pretty incredible. And
the thing about that, neither Gausman nor Aaron Nola, they're not what you'd call a big guy. Okay, I mean they're good size, but
they're not thick. Huge. They're tall.
No, and like the LSU pitching staff this year, they might could win a couple games in the SEC basketball tournament. They got 6'6", 6'7", 6'8" all day out there for Jay Johnson's Tigers. Saw Jay Johnson yesterday. Had a quick visit with him. That was pretty cool. But my favorite thing yesterday was at that luncheon, ran into Kevin Falk, and that was real. And he'll be coming on Hold the Rope in a couple of weeks. We just got to iron out a schedule. My favorite running back of all time at LSU, Kevin Falk.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell Charles Alexander that because I see him a good bit, but I do love me some Kevin Falk, and he's a great guy. He's going to actually be at our he's going to stop by and be at our Ghouls and Golf tournament. Not going to play, but he's going to come by and visit with everybody. And so we're going to have him on October 30th and 31st Dalton Hilliard ain't bad either. No, I agree with you, Chance. Chance Babin saying Dalton Hilliard ain't bad either. I agree with you, Chance, on that one. He was
definitely. No, look, Dalton's one of my favorite
awesome
guys too. But Kevin Falk, I don't know. Dalton didn't play special teams like Falk did with the kickoffs and the punts.
Kevin Falk, though, how different, not that he wasn't a great player, not that he didn't win 3 Super Bowls and have a great career with Tom Brady and all that. And Tom Brady
3 rings. He's got 3 rings.
Calls him is one of his favorite teammates of all time. But if Cecil Collins isn't Cecil Collins off the field, who knows? Cecil Collins gets some touches and does some things, and Kevin Falk doesn't carry the ball as much. If Cecil Collins doesn't become Cecil Collins.
I got a Cecil Collins story, Ronnie. Back then, they had a thing called Prop 48 when guys weren't academically eligible, but you could still practice and all that. Well, Cecil Collins was a Prop 48 guy, not the only one, but he was one of them. And I remember this is when everybody was at practice all the time. Everybody said the best running back out there is Cecil Collins. This is before anybody ever saw him in a game uniform or saw him in a game. But, I mean, it was a consensus that he was the best out there when there were some pretty other guys out there that were pretty good as well.
There was a lot of people that said that. And again, it's no disrespect to Kevin Falk. There were a lot of people that said Cecil Collins was better than Kevin Falk. And you can't really say that based on 3 or 4 games or whatever it was that Cecil played. But you could see where that could possibly be true. I don't want to disrespect a Hall of Famer, but Cecil Collins, if he just doesn't, he had issues in high school, had issues in college, had issues in the pros. We all know about it, but man, he was special, and he was kind of one of those. We'll never know what could have been with Cecil Collins. By the way, you mentioned, Tommy, the Dodgers and the Padres game today. They play at 7:30 tonight. That series is tied up 1 game apiece. Padres are at home, but they're the dog. They are, I think plus 165 or something like that at home. If you want a game of value, take the Padres today. And here's why: because Blake Snell is on the mound, and Blake Snell's, he's a little bit of a, all or nothing guy, the former Tampa Rays pitcher, but he's a lefty that's got electric stuff. His ERA at home is 3.5 this year. Blake Snell, again, on the season against the Dodgers, 14 innings pitched, 12 hits, 6 earned runs, 1 homer, struck out 23. At home this year, he's got 81 innings pitched. He's only given up 70 hits and struck out 108 and only walked 26. You can get some value with a guy. You got a really good pitcher who's pitched well in the postseason in the past. At home, I just think if you're looking for some value and looking for a chance for a big dog, Blake Snell gives you a good chance.
The counter to that is the Dodgers on paper the best team in baseball. They won the most games, and the run differential was like 334 this season. And people have not dived into that run differential number. You got to do that next year. When you go to MLB.com and you look at the standard, win, loss, games back, streaks, all that. There's a column for run differential. It will tell you the best teams in baseball and the worst teams. And maybe next spring we'll do a bigger segment on run differential.
Byron talking about Cecil. So Cecil taught Kevin how to run north and south. Prior, he was more of a Reggie Bush. So Byron, the analyst there, pointing out that when Cecil got in there, he had to keep up with him, no doubt about it. All right, Astros Mariners. You saw something. We all saw something that never has really happened before. I mean, when you talk about the Astros and the Mariners, Astros up 2-0. They go back to Seattle tomorrow. But I mean, if you're the Mariners, you're kicking yourself. I mean, you feel like, hey, we should be up 2-0.
Really should. I mean, you kind of let a couple of games get away. That bullpen, to finish the game, you got to get 27 outs, that whole bit. And then Yordan Alvarez, Ronnie, I saw this yesterday. He was traded from the Dodgers to the Astros about 5 years ago for a minor leaguer named Josh Fields. A couple of minor leaguers swapped. Josh Fields isn't in baseball anymore, and Alvarez is setting records. He's done something after the 6th inning, a walk-off home run and a game-changing home run has never happened in the history of Major League Baseball. And, I mean, this guy is just unbelievable at the plate. He's one of them guys, he's kind of like Rafael Palmeiro and Will Clark. when they're standing at the plate in a pitcher's mind, there's no hole in there. There's no spot where you think you can get him out because he's got power both ways. He hits the low ball, which all left-handers do, but he'll rip that belt-high fastball just as well. He can hit the breaking ball. He's got his hands back, hits it up the middle. He's got a great swing, and he's done a great job for the Astros. Bregman has had a good series so far, a little LSU flavor there. So first home game in Seattle for a long time. They feel like they let two get away. They may be rocking and rolling up there in the West Coast and Northwest tomorrow.
By the way, Yordan Alvarez, only 25 years old, Tommy. He batted .306 this year, 37 homers. Those are top 10 in the American League. And RBIs had him ranked 15th. His OPS is second. I mean, he's had a great year. But how about this? He's been even better on the road. So he had the two big homers at home. On the road, he's hitting .318 with 17 home runs this year. And against Seattle, he's 17 for 51. He's got more walks than strikeouts, and he's had 5 homers against Seattle this year. So it's not going to get any easier for the Mariners. Oh, by the way, don't sleep on him. You got another great lineup. You have guys in that lineup as well, and Alex Bregman's had a good postseason. So, if you're Seattle, you had your chance, man. You just had to win at least one, and you couldn't get that done. So it looks like the Astros are going to put the nail in. It's only a 5-game series, by the way. So.
One of the best things that I love is postseason baseball. I mean, today I got to travel to New Orleans. I'll be catching some of it on the radio, but I'm fine with that. It's still postseason baseball, and I love it.
A little quick info. The Raging Cajuns had a big win on Wednesday in football. Raging Cajuns went on the road at Marshall. They were a 10.5-point dog in this game, ended up winning by 10. And it was a must-win, really, for both teams. But Raging Cajuns got to win. Marshall, of course, now in the Sun Belt Conference, so it was a conference win. And, what's going on with Marshall? They go on the road and beat Notre Dame, and they're 1-3 since, and they're only one who was a Gardner Webb, which is like Southern. So I don't know what that says about Marshall. I don't know what it says about Notre Dame. I guess they're all bad.
Well, Ronnie, it's very tough to pick college football games this year. And look, you look at all the national guys, the ones that pick against the spread. Don't fool with the people that pick games straight up. Okay, that's silly. Everybody's struggling. I mean, Anthony Gallo's pretty hot on our website, meatandpotatoesusa.com, but everybody else has been struggling, including me. It's very hard to pick games, and I'm maintaining that it's an unintended consequence of the transfer portal.
100%.
You don't have the team chemistry. Skip Burtman was talking the other night on Hold the Rope. You got to be put together. You got to love and trust every teammate. And when you got so many new guys like LSU does, like Florida does, pretty much anybody with a new coach has a lot of new guys. Guys with returning coaches have new guys. And I think that's causing that up and down of Marshall beating Notre Dame, losing to the Raging Cajuns. And we can make a lot more examples of that kind of stuff if we studied it across the country and all the conferences, the Power 5, the Group of 5, doesn't matter. That I think that's a stem or spinoff of the transfer portal.
Chance saying Ben Wooldridge might be their starting quarterback. He was a 6'3" junior out of California, and his numbers this year are just kind of okay. But he had a nice game against Marshall, 17 for 30, 230 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. So maybe the Cajuns have found their guy. They had a starting quarterback for the last 4 years, and now again, I agree with you wholeheartedly, Tommy. The transfer portal has made it difficult for the gamblers. It's made it difficult for the teams to hit that stride and consistency because it's like an all-star team. You pick up a guy here, the guy there, and look, for the most part, a lot of those guys you don't get them till August. So, I mean, you have 3 weeks of camp or something like that, a month, maybe a month to bond and to figure things out. And to get your head around, hey, I was at 3 different colleges, and now this is my fourth system. I mean, it's a lot, and it makes the bookies big winners. That's what it does. It makes us losers.
It makes it tough. So keep that in mind when you're trying to figure out who's going to win, who's going to lose. Is it going to go over? Is it going to go under? But hey, it's still fun.
All right, so my pick I like the Saints and the Bengals to go over 43 in this game. That's kind of the and I like I'm gonna take the Padres tonight because I got some value with Snell on the mound, and I'm gonna load up on Nola at home against the Braves. There's just nothing on paper that tells me that Nola's not gonna have a very good outing. I think he's gonna just shove. So I like Phillies today over Atlanta. I like the Padres getting value. I'm going to take them with Snell in the mound. He's going to tap into his old Rays mojo in the postseason and give me the Bengals and Saints over 43 on Sunday.
I like the Yankees on the run line today. It's a 12 noon game, so you got to get your stuff in pretty quick here. Yankees on the run line, and I like over in the LSU Florida game, over 51.5. Want to give a shout out to Squeaky Miranda, City Cafe. He's here in the house here today at Tremonti's looking at a few things. I did a TV show at his place for many years, and he just said hello to me, so I wanted to give him a shout out.
Well, tell Squeaky we said hello, and great place, Court Street Cafe. City Cafe, excuse me.
Court Street. O'Neill Lane. Court Street Cafe, where I'll be Monday's a good place too. All these cafes, right? We get to City Cafe.
City Cafe. You know, back in the day when you and Alan were doing sports down the middle, I ate many a corn and crab bisque over there at City Cafe.
Right over there on O'Neill Lane. Go check it out.
All right. Tell us about Tremonti's before we get out of here.
I got my camo hat on from Tremonti's because it's deer season, and they got the deer processing. Any game, anything you shoot, they take care of it here. Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Lunch special today, fried catfish, topped with crawfish etouffee. All the meats are available, the seafood, the wine, the whiskey, the swamp buckets if you want to boil up a couple pounds of shrimp. It's all at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood on Jefferson Highway, right down the street from Parkview Baptist Church and School. So we want you to check them out. Hit them up on Facebook and Instagram. Tremonti's Meat and Seafood, Baton Rouge.
All right. We'll have Tommy will join us tomorrow for Sports Shorts Radio. That will be 10 to noon. We'll be at the Bruley Walk-Ons. Until then, everybody have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday morning for more Sports Shorts Daily presented by LeBears.